Hi, and welcome to the I-10 Connect Community Informational Meeting for May. May the 4th be with you, in fact. I'm Jennifer Wright with the Texas Department of Transportation, and tonight we're going to talk about some pretty consequential, impactful closures coming up and the work behind them. This project is in its final months, and what's happening right now is critical to the completion of the project. So brace yourselves, there's a lot coming your way. Tonight we're joined by my co-host Martin Bartlett of Barracuda, and behind the scenes we have the incomparable Joe Nahara switching things up for us. So we'll see if any of our engineers join us tonight, but we'll take your questions in the chat. And even if the show is, if you're not watching it live, we can come back to them later. Tonight, I want to tell you, it is critical, if you haven't already signed up for our text message alerts, if you're not following I-10 Connect El Paso on Twitter, you need to go to i10connectelpaso.com and sign up for the text alerts and follow us on Twitter, because what's happening coming up is going to really, really be something you need to know about. So here to talk about all the changes coming up on the project is Martin Bartlett. Martin, thank you for joining us.
Jennifer, always our pleasure. Yeah, as Jennifer mentioned, some very impactful closures coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to dive into them here in a little bit, but we also like to just start with getting everybody oriented. You know, we've been at this for many months now, but we do recognize there may be some folks who are joining us for the first time. We also want to encourage you to remember that this is a virtual community meeting. Emphasis on the community part. We really want to hear from you. If you have questions, please feel free to post them in the comments section on the Facebook Live. You can also send an email to info@i10connectelpaso.com. We'll be checking those platforms as the evening goes on. So if you have any questions at all, again, as Jennifer said, just drop them on as a comment on the Facebook Live or send an email to that email address. We'll be happy to get an answer for you as best we can. If it's not something we can answer straight away, we'll make sure we get back to you. So let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of information about the project. Just a reminder of the project team, of course. This is a project of the Texas Department of Transportation. SUNT is the general contractor. Contour is providing inspection services and construction management. KCI Kennedy Consulting actually drew up the plans. And Barracuda Public Relations, the company for which I work, is assisting TxDOT with public involvement during the construction phase of this project. And we have been at construction on this project for, as I said, a while now, beginning in February of 2019. 3 years all told allocated for completion of this project. So as Jennifer mentioned, we really are getting into the final months of this project. So what you're gonna see as we go through the next few slides is a lot of work is kind of occurring at varying locations all around the project, not for a very long time. So that's why we have a lot of these little closures kind of popping up for 1 or 2 nights here and there, but many of them can be very impactful. So just a reminder a little bit about kind of what the project is designed to do is it's designed to create more connections between I-10 and Loop 375 at Center City. So as you see right now, we're flying high above the Spaghetti Bowl. Everything you see in blue there on the diagram is a new ramp, either a replacement of an existing one or altogether new. And the big change, as many motorists have encountered over the past several weeks, is if you're going to make that decision to go to Juarez, you now have to make that decision at the Spaghetti Bowl. When the project is complete, all traffic, whether you're coming from I-10 East, I-10 West, or US 54, will make that Juarez decision there at the Spaghetti Bowl. That's because of some changes further down the road, we'll show you in the next slide, at the intersection of Interstate 110, that short freeway spur that leads to the Bridge of the Americas, and Paisano Drive. You can see I-110 flowing under Paisano. For years and years and years, you've been able to take Paisano and then make that last minute turn to get into the bridge if you wanted to. That turn has been eliminated. All traffic coming into the Bridge of the Americas will have to do it via Interstate 110. Again, that freeway spur leading from I-10 down to the Bridge of the Americas. So a big change in the way we get to the bridge from the way many of us have been doing it for years and years. So that is, of course, a computer rendering, but computer renderings are good, but real photos of real progress we think are even better. So let's take a look at the next slide, and we have some pictures from the field of ramps G and H, just to get you kind of acclimated as to where you are. East is towards the top of the screen, downtown, west to the bottom, Juarez off to the right, Northeast El Paso off to the left side of the screen. So as you can see there, those ramps that many of us have taken to get to northbound US 54 from eastbound I-10, as you know, have been closed for quite some time, but you can see real progress being made on reconstructing and reconfiguring those ramps. So we are told within the next couple of months, probably by say July, these ramps will be completed and will be reopened. So you'll have access to from eastbound I-10 to northbound US 54, direct access. This is brand new part of this project from eastbound I-10 to southbound US 54 and then on to Loop 375. And there at the center of the right-hand side of the screen, that eastbound I-10 direct to Juarez connection. So again, the way we've cast it is putting more noodles in the spaghetti bowl, but each of those noodles means better access to get where you're going. That's a really good overhead view. We have some shots down on the ground of those bridge girders being installed there at ramps G and H. As you can see, it is a monumental task. I mean, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of human power, and a lot of machine power to get those concrete bridge girders up in place. Once those bridge girders are in place, work begins on actually creating the bridge deck, the driving surface. So as you can see, there is progress out there, but of course it is many, many steps before those individual pieces of the project can be completed. So that's been a long-term closure, but now we want to kind of dive into some of the short-term closures we have coming up all around the project over the next couple of weeks. So this is a closure that's going to be taking place on northbound US 54. So whether you're coming from eastbound Loop 375, westbound Loop 375 along Border Highway, US 54 will be closed to you from Loop 375. So the detour, this is a really circuitous detour that's coming Monday, May 9th, starting at 9 p.m., continuing to 5 a.m. the following morning. So let's say you're leaving downtown trying to get to the northeast and you're on Loop 375. The way you'll do it, again, it's going to seem awfully out of the way, is continue on Loop 375 to Fonseca, turn around at Fonseca, take the US 54 exit, head north on US 54. You'll have to stay on Gateway North, though, and then get on I-10, head out Trowbridge, turn around, come back on I-10, and then take US 54 heading off to the north. So really and truly, this is one of those cases where you can follow the marked detour, but really probably best bet if you can avoid travel in this area on Sunday, May 9th, beginning at 9 p.m., probably best to do so. Again, US 54 closed northbound there at Loop 375. So that's a one-night closure on Sunday, May 9th. We'll go ahead to another closure that's going to last for a couple of nights, several nights. I apologize, I jumped ahead. We're going to talk about this closure. This is one, we do a lot of our closures at night, but this is daytime lane closures, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. There on Alameda Avenue at under US 54. Crews are going to be actually painting the newly constructed bridges there at that location. So if you're driving back and forth on Alameda under US 54, do expect to see some lane closures, some intermittent lane closures there on SH20 Alameda Avenue under US 54. Won't stop you from getting where you're going, but it may slow you down. So that's, again, daytime closures coming up, lane closures rather, on Alameda at US 54. Okay, now we'll move ahead to a rather impactful closure we have coming up on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. That last closure was for painting. This closure is going to be related to some overhead sign work on I-10. All traffic will have to bail out of Interstate 10 at the Piedras exit. So I-10 closed to eastbound traffic from Piedras all the way to past the Spaghetti Bowl. So the marked detour is pretty simple. It's just going to be get off at Piedras, stay on the gateway till you get to Copia. You may remember that Gateway East is closed under the Spaghetti Bowl, so you have to jog south one block on Copia over to Durazno, and then you can hook back up at Mar to get back on the gateway. Again, this is one of those closures where it's simple, it's going to be very clearly marked, but we do recognize, I-10 in that direction is between 4 and 6 eastbound lanes, all kind of getting off into one lane on the exit, then heading down Gateway East, then Durazno. So if you can avoid travel in that area on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, I-10 between downtown and the Spaghetti Bowl, we would really encourage avoid travel in that area if you can. All right, so again, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. We have another closure coming up now, moving back to 54. This one's only on Tuesday night, and this one is one that we've done several times before. Again, this is going to be related to some signage work. What you'll see there in red is the complete closure of US 54 southbound. Again, a pretty easy, pretty straightforward detour. You'll just take the Pershing Avenue exit, then the Altura Avenue exit to kind of stay on the gateway, and you'll be able to get back on 54 by the time you get down to Pershing. There will also be an impact, though, to traffic if you're coming on Spur 601, say from the airport, trying to get to US 54 southbound. If we can go back one slide, that's going to show that you're just not going to be able to take that ramp. You see it shown there kind of in gold, that ramp from, let's see, it'll be westbound Spur 601 to southbound US 64, closed to all traffic as well. So the detour on this one will be go north on US 54, take exit 20A, then from 54, exit 25, that's the Ellerthorpe Avenue exit, turn around there at Ellerthorpe, head south. Once you do, though, you'll have to follow that detour marked in blue. So Tuesday night, there will be that closure down on I-10, also this closure on southbound US 54. So if you're traveling in Central overnight on Tuesday night, know that you'll need to be thinking about how do I avoid eastbound I-10, how do I avoid southbound US 54 on Tuesday. All right, now we can move on to Wednesday night. Again, remembering there's also that closure on this night on eastbound I-10 at Piedras, so keep that in mind. But this closure primarily affects US 54 and has what might be a kind of surprising impact to the Juarez detour. So there you see in red, that's just the collector distributor lanes on southbound US 54. The local traffic lanes will be closed from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. if you're heading southbound. So if you're just heading south on US 54 to get down to, say, Loop 375, no real issue for you. But don't forget, those collector distributor lanes, those local lanes, have been carrying Juarez detour traffic. So let's talk about what your detour is going to be if you're heading to Juarez on Wednesday night, May 12th. Not going to be all that different. It's shown there in blue. Again, all traffic will have to take westbound Interstate 10 to northbound US 54. We've been saying you just make that Pershing U-turn. Not on Wednesday night. On Wednesday, you got to go all the way up to Fred Wilson, do the turnaround there, exit 24A Fred Wilson, come southbound on US 54, and then you'll be able to follow the traditional detour by heading south on US 54 and keeping right to take that brand new flyover ramp down to the Bridge of the Americas. As you know, if you travel in that area, that will not get you to westbound I-10. So westbound I-10 has a detour there shown in gold, which you'll have to do. Go east out to Trowbridge, U-turn at Trowbridge in order to go west on I-10. So again, big closures, a small closure with big impacts coming up on Wednesday, May 12th on southbound US 54, also impacting Juarez traffic. So again, let's talk about holistically what Wednesday night looks like. Wednesday night, you have a closure on eastbound I-10 between downtown and the Spaghetti Bowl. You have this closure on southbound US 54 between Pershing and I-10. So big impacts in Central on Wednesday night, as will be the case again Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. All right, so we talked about how that closure will impact Juarez traffic. We have another big impact to Juarez traffic that we've been sharing with you all. We promised we'd let you know once we dialed in a date, and we now have a date dialed in. Okay, everything we're talking about on this slide is about southbound traffic. So if you're heading from the US to Mexico, heading from El Paso to Ciudad Juarez, for a total of 3 weeks, southbound Interstate 110 leading to the Bridge of the Americas, the only road leading to the Bridge of the Americas, will be closed to all southbound traffic nightly from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. That begins on Monday, May 17th, runs through the rest of that week, then picks up again Sunday through Thursday, then takes the weekend off, picks up again Sunday, May 30th through, there you see, the 3rd of June. So again, very impactful 3 weeks of nightly closures on southbound Interstate 110 leading to the Bridge of the Americas. So there is no southbound vehicular traffic being allowed into the Bridge of the Americas at those times, nightly between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. So the detour on those, frankly, is you're just going to have to go through a different port of entry overnight on those nights for those 3 weeks. We understand that it's an incredibly impactful closure. We absolutely recognize that if you're used to using the Bridge of the Americas, going to Stanton Street, Isleta, Santa Teresa, not terribly convenient. Let's talk through why that closure is absolutely necessary to complete this project. In the next slide, we'll show you the situation. We are right now looking east over where Paisano used to be as it crosses I-110 heading into the Bridge of the Americas. So that little 2-lane strip of asphalt, or pavement rather, you see going from the left side of your screen to the right side of your screen, that's what's carrying all the traffic south into the Bridge of the Americas. As we mentioned, US Highway 62, Paisano Drive, has to be rebuilt over Interstate 110 there immediately north of the Bridge of the Americas. Work will begin placing bridge girders on the side of Interstate 110, which would typically be the northbound side. Of course, northbound traffic is not flowing in its usual location. It's detoured by turning onto Paisano, so no real impact to traffic as those bridge girders get set. But of course, that only gets the bridge about halfway across where it needs to go. So take a look at what happens next. We have more than a dozen of those big concrete bridge girders that have to be placed over Interstate 110. There is absolutely no safe way to do that with live traffic flowing underneath it. So the best that the construction team can come up with to get this done safely and minimize impacts is to do those closures overnight. So again, 3 weeks starting on May 17th of nightly closures of Interstate 110. So those bridge girders can be placed over the southbound lanes of Interstate 110. Again, recognizing that is incredibly impactful, not fun for anybody, but again, no other safe way to build this part of the project. So we have talked through in the past, 17 minutes or so, a lot of closures that are taking place. Some of them are happening for just 1 or 2 nights. Some of them are happening for many nights over a very long period of time. So really, we recommend the best way to stay fully up to date on all of those closures is to go ahead, as Jennifer was mentioning earlier, head to i10connectelpaso.com, sign up for text message alerts. When we have one of these really big, high impact closures, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and send a text message directly to you the day of the closure, maybe the day before the closure. That way you'll have plenty of time both to be prepared because you heard about it in this meeting, but also to be reminded right before it happens that, hey, don't forget, we have that big closure, say, coming up on I-110. We have that big closure coming up on Interstate 10. We'll make sure we give you an update as close to the event as possible. Another thing we would really encourage folks to do is if you have any questions about the project, please feel free to go ahead and just give us a call on our project hotline. You can reach us anytime, 855-463-1010. That is probably a good way. Let's say you're just kind of getting some basic information. Hey, I want to know, I'm going out downtown on Tuesday night. What's it going to be like when I leave and try to head home on the east side? Things like that. We're more than happy to answer those questions. Just that simple, just that drilled down. So if you have any questions about the project, we really encourage you to go ahead, give us a call, and we'll try to get those answers for you. So what I'm also going to do is, again, remind you, if you have any questions about what we've covered, go ahead and drop us a note in the comments section related to this Facebook Live. We're more than happy to answer your questions before the meeting ends. We also want to go ahead and remind you, info@i10connectelpaso.com, a great way to reach out to us either during this meeting. If we can't get to your question during the meeting, we'll be happy to answer your question after the meeting. So at this time, what I'm going to do is, again, remind you there are plenty of ways to stay in touch with us. Also, as you were seeing earlier, another great way to get your comments heard and get your questions answered is join us here first Tuesday of every month. We are here live on Facebook and live on i10connectelpaso.com. Happy to answer any questions you have about the I-10 Connect project. So again, we want to just make sure everybody is remembering. Joe, if we can go back and take a look at the I-10 closure for, actually, the very first slide we showed you for Sunday night. That's probably the one that we want to make sure you're most aware of, because that's going to kind of set the stage for what's coming up in the coming days and weeks along the I-10 Connect project. Don't have that map for you right now, but again, just want to remind everybody there's going to be a lot of changes coming up as we begin to move towards the final phases and final months of this project. We thank you for your patience. We know it has been difficult, and of course, we've saved, in some ways, we saved the best for last. So again, here's that map we were talking about. Sunday night, May 9th, the soonest one that's coming up, that complete closure of US 54 northbound leaving Loop 375, a very circuitous detour. That's exactly the type of stuff we will remind you of in real time. Also, you see there on Wednesday, May 12th, another really kind of far-flung detour. So just make sure that you're aware. We like to say that probably the best The best anecdote to inconvenience is information, and we're happy to provide that. So with that, what I will do is I'll go ahead and close out this meeting. Again, ask you to please consider joining us 1 month from tonight, the first Tuesday of, believe it or not, June, as we get closer and closer to summertime. First Tuesday of June, that'll be June 1st. We look forward to having you join us right here at i10connectelpaso.com and on Facebook. Didn't get any questions in the comments tonight, but please feel free to drop us a line, info@i10connectelpaso.com. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Also, make sure you go ahead, share this Facebook Live on your social media profile. Make sure your friends and family know about these closures as well, because they're going to be awfully impactful. We will look for you again 1 month from tonight. And if you have any questions in the meantime, of course, please feel free to give us a call, 855-463-1010. Until next time, I'm Martin Bartlett.